Hey, what the hell are you doing walking around dressed like Star Wars?
It's Comic-Con, you idiot. We're going to the Javits Center.
Well, you're the idiots, because you three guys would never be walking together.
Yeah, you're his boss, and you two guys are enemies.
Yeah, bite me, Captain Kirk.
Hey, whoa, come on. No, that's Star Trek.
Yeah, that's two different franchises.
Yeah, sorry, guys. She doesn't know.
Nah, it's okay. I'm sorry you have to deal with that.
Let's go.
Oh, hey, come on. It's not worth it, man. It's not worth it. Not worth it.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Fanzone Debate. We are in a title picture right now, and we got two players who have played before. They've played before this season, so they're no stranger to each other. We got Adelaide Spence going up against Jacoby Bancroft. The last time we saw them play, Jacoby took the win. That was in the round one of the tournament earlier this year. But Spence playing really well in their last match against Alex. Jacoby, even his losses, always a great player, and he had a stellar comeback off of his Nazario match against Kastner in his last one. So both playing well in this picture. They're going up against each other once again, and I'm looking forward to it. We got Kirk and Brian here. Kirk, we'll start with you. How you doing? And Jacoby and Spence, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm doing well. Thank you for asking. And I am excited for this matchup. Jacoby, kind of like a perennial contender. Spence has their ups and downs, but they take this game seriously and they work at it, and they're always trying to get better. They talk to you about it. I can tell there's a lot of energy that goes into it, a lot of thought goes into it, a lot of time goes into it. So Spence is somebody who I could see making the move to that next echelon of player. And I think a win over Jacoby here tonight would prove that. And, Jacoby at the same time just has an opportunity to kind of, pad his record, keep moving on, and, eventually get back into, the title shot, which I'm sure his goal as well.
Yeah. Brian, you're also here. Welcome. Thank you for being here. How are you doing? And what's your take on this matchup?
Oh, I didn't think you talked to us anymore. I was not prepared for this.
I know.
I mean, I don't really have any predictions for this match. I think for me, it comes down to, especially as a judge, I mean, even just as a viewer, but especially as a judge, when I have to actually kind of analyze what they're saying, I just want matches to be interesting. I hate judging matches where I'm sitting here and I'm bored. And both of these people are very interesting and very entertaining to watch. So I'm looking forward to this.
Awesome. All right. Let's talk to the players real quick. We'll start by bringing in the lower ranked player, Adelaide Spence. Adelaide, you're taking on Jacoby once again. How are we shaking things up this time to try to get the win?
That's a great question. I wish I had a better answer for you. I honestly, if Brian is entertained by today, I consider that a win. I'm always gonna be looking for the heights. I think I put this like in every pre-match I've ever had. I have some of the most annoying arguments in the history of Fanzone. I've just put out some bullshit, and it infuriates all of the hosts. I think we've avoided that today.
But they're not boring.
Yeah, exactly. I am like a very interesting train wreck, and I'll see what happens today.
It's fair. Spence, good luck. We will bring in the higher-ranked player, Mr. Bancroft. Jacoby, I want to ask you, at what minute mark in the match do you think you're going to start to get all...
Maybe in the second question. Maybe the first question, I'll keep my hands down to the side here and not do anything, but we'll see what happens. It could go either way, either immediately or in the middle there. But yeah, either way, it's going to be a good time. I always feel like I'm not that excited for this, and then I get going and then into it, and I get really excited. And that's what's going to make this so exciting, because Spence is great. And I think both times it's been really close. So it's like it's not
3-1 twice. Don't.
But I feel like your arguments are still great there. So that's why it's kind of so scary. So I'm looking forward to this. It's a challenge. It's both scary, but it's going to be fun to do. So
yeah, whoever wins this match is going on to a contender match. So it's going to be very exciting to see what happens. Let's get into it. This is how it's going to work. So the players drafted some categories. We gave them questions based off the categories, and they're going to debate those questions tonight before our very souls. So they are each going to get a 1-minute opening, followed by a 5-minute freeform, followed by a 1-minute closing. At the end of the debate, Brian, Kirk, and I will write on our boards who we thought won the debate. 2 out of 3 votes wins you a point. First player to 3 points wins the match. Any questions from the competitors as we get going?
No.
All righty, let's do it. All right, we are going to kick this off with the first question, which was drafted by Jacoby. The category was DC, and your question is, what is the best performance from a non-superhero character in a DC film? Jacoby, because you drafted this, you get to go first. You have 1 minute to open your argument when you start.
Margot Kidder is the best performance from a non-superhero character in a DC film. In the original Superman, she is the linchpin, I think, for why that whole movie works. She challenges Superman, banters with Clark Kent. She's in love with Superman, and it's through her eyes that we believe that a man can fly. Without her, almost none of the movie works. I think it's an easy choice to pick a villain as the best performance, but I actually think what Margot Kidder has to do and convey as a love interest to a superhero is extremely difficult, and performance-wise is much harder than just a standard juicy villain role. Best performance should not be a singular island. Best performance should also bring out the best in everyone around them to bring the movie up. Margot Kidder does that with complexity. She's smart, quick-witted, and strong, but she still has to balance being a damsel in distress, which I think is almost impossible to do, and through Kidder's performance, she accomplishes it. She has to be perfect, but not steal the spotlight from Superman himself, which again she does, which is why I think she has the best performance.
Okay, great. Let's move over to Adelaide. Adelaide, you have 1 minute to open your argument when you start.
Heath Ledger's performance as the Joker is not just the single best performance in the DC movie, he's a definitive performance in film as a whole. He redefined how every future version of the Joker, film or otherwise, was created with how incredible and haunting his performance is. There is a genuine fear that he instills in the character in the film and the actors portraying them. Michael Caine is on record in saying when he first saw Ledger in the makeup, he forgot his lines during rehearsal. That is how scared he was simply by Ledger. What makes Ledger stand out so much compared to so many other performances is how completely he transforms into the character. It's beyond the makeup and awe the character creates, but the way Ledger moves and emotes when he's not even speaking. Every movement is precise yet appears spontaneous. Every line features swings in intonation and pitch, which appears random but is fully planned. It looks like chaos, but it's all thoroughly thought through. That's the Joker to a T, and Ledger understands that perfectly.
Okay. Ending a few seconds early. All right, so Margot Kidder versus Heath Ledger. 5 minute free form when one of you starts talking. I will throw up the 1 minute warning when the time comes. I will throw up the let your opponent talk if you are indeed not letting your opponent talk. Don't make me do that. It makes me sad. Nick just moved, and he's also been flying a lot, so he's got a lot of miles. He can get to you, and you don't want that. So 5 minute free form when one of you starts talking.
There's nothing I can knock about Heath's performance and have it be genuine, but if it is like stripped down, I think Heath's Joker is almost one note in what it does as a performance. And to be clear, it's one of the greatest one note performances of all time, but that does not have that extra complexity and layers that you get from being a superhero love interest, which again, I argue is much harder to do because you have to do less flashy stuff and, and rather likable without being too overshadowing of the main hero and villain conflict. And you have to actually get the audience to care when they are in danger without being helpless. And Margot Kidder does all that while Heath Ledger is kind of like on this island on his own, being great in a much easier thing.
Okay, there's number one. You are saying that the performance is great, so I just want that on the record.
I am.
I also want to note that, number one, he is not one note. He acts with different characters in different ways. He, being a sociopath, the way that he approaches each individual to get what he wants inherently gives him a different performance. The way that he is burning the money in one scene compared to the opening scene where he's performing the heist job, and when he's in the hospital doing some goofy comedy shit where it's like, oh, am I a nurse you don't know? That's crazy. That is all different performances that he is able to balance. Margot Kidder is one note. She is just the reporter. There is no difference in how she perceives, how she talks with Superman versus Clark Kent. That is not there. What you're talking about is Superman 2. In Superman 2, she is so much more committed to this variable character with depth and ingenuity. Here, she's just the love interest and nothing.
No, I disagree with that. Then you have a fundamental misunderstanding of why that movie works as itself. It's because Lois Lane's performance, Margot Kidder as Lois Lane, brings out the best of everyone around her, and we love the character through what she does. We can see why Clark Kent can banter so well with her, and we can see why Superman is in love with her, and we can feel sad when and distraught when she is in danger and distress, which gives us a whole different range of performances, as opposed to Heath Ledger, who I don't think brings out the best in the people around him. He brings out one note in the people around him, which is frustration about this agent of chaos. Everybody has to hate him, and that's easy to sort of do because of how he plays the character. Margot Kidder has to do so much more. She has to match perfectly Clark's bumbly shtick and be in awe of Superman in such a flirty way that you need to see Superman falling in love with her. When she dies, you need to feel Superman's anguish. And that's not only Reed's performance, that's because of how good Kidder is up until that point. That's a whole range of different performance ticks that's so different than Heath Ledger's agreeably great agent of chaos, as you said, as he transforms into this character by himself. He does all that, but he does it within this box of perfection, while Margot Kidder is wide-reaching.
You were saying that she brings out the best in everyone around her. You are literally only bringing up Clark Kent because that's all that she has to do is the one person. And even then, you're being like, oh my God, Christopher Reeve is so great. And then she's there. She's like, she's giving them the layup. That's not how this shit works. If we're talking about bringing out the best in everyone around them, that is what Heath Ledger does. Every single other, and we're talking about the movie. Everyone's like, oh, The Dark Knight isn't a great Batman movie. It's a great Joker movie. He is the central character to everybody, and you see how that reflects in every other character. There is at the end when Batman's hanging him, and he is like in awe of the absolute maniac who this is. You cannot control the agent of chaos. There is the fear that he instills with Aaron Eckhart, and just like the genuine fear there. There is so much going on, and how you are downplaying.
I'm not downplaying. I'm highlighting specifically what he is doing, which is instilling that fear in everybody around him and making the movie all about himself, which is great. But that's easy to do when you have a flashy, over-the-top performance. You just said it is a Joker movie and not a Batman movie, which is fine. But that's easy to do when you get to play the Joker. But when you have to play the love interest to one of the most popular superheroes of all time, and also make your mark on the movie, and also be important, and also match with two different personas of Clark Kent and Superman, and also be in danger without seeming stupid, that is harder to do as a performance-wise than Heath Ledger's Joker movie as himself. Yeah, he is perfect as the Joker. I'm not downplaying what he does as one thing as an issue. I'm just saying Margot Kidder does so much more with everybody around her and of the character she's asked to play, which is a love interest of a superhero, which is so much harder to do than the Joker.
What you were basically saying is like, hey, here's like what's the fucking thing in like bowling or golf where it's like you're basically, here's the handicap, and wow, she overcame it. You are giving so many like skill checks to be like, okay, but this to quantify why she's good. If we're saying like, oh, she's not given anything to work with, then fucking Polka Dot Man is the greatest performance in any DC movie, because who the fuck cares about Polka Dot Man? You are adding so many qualifiers to why she's good and not even putting down the performance. Like, yeah, he's perfect. But
I agree. I'm just saying the performance is more well-rounded and more in-depth. And I think there's more than a performance than just being the balloon that sucks all the air out of the room. And Margot Kidder more accomplishes that.
Am I still lagging? Do I look weird?
You're chunky.
I hear you, but
like,
you're choppy.
244 right now.
I can hear you guys totally fine. So we're going to finish up the question and then I'll leave and come back. So we are going to go to Spence first. Spence, you have 1 minute when you start.
Jacoby has inherently agreed with the question. He believes that I did pick the best performance. He is adding qualifiers about, oh, but it's actually like he's the main character, so doesn't really like it changes the interactions. He's overshadowing. He overshadows because he's incredible. There was this run in the 2000s where right after Heath Ledger won the Oscar, you have Christoph Waltz and Inglourious Basterds, and the year before you get Anton Chigurh and No Country for Old Men. These are villains who steal the movie because of how incredible their performances are. It is centered around them, and you want to be with them. Margot Kidder and Superman is a bit of an afterthought. I think Jacoby is talking out of his ass with, oh, through her eyes you'll believe a man can fly. That is what the first 10, 15, 20 minutes of the movie is doing. It is a Superman movie, and you love him. She really is just kind of there who doesn't really get a chance to shine until Superman 2. As is, she's kind of a one-note love interest who has a couple interesting scenes, but nothing compared to the film and performance redefining performance that Heath Ledger gives us the Joker.
Okay, time. All right, we're gonna go over to Jacoby. Jacoby, you have 1 minute when you start.
I ask that you look at the wording performance by a non-superhero in a different way and ask yourself, performance-wise, what is harder? Heath Ledger's performance sucks up all the air from the movie, and it becomes about him because he gets to be crazy. He gets to be all over the place, and no one can match it, and to the point where it brings almost all the other performances in the movie down. It's also so singular in what it is asking, where it's almost easy to play it because he can do whatever he wants and not care about anything else. Margot Kidder as Lois Lane has it much harder from a performance perspective, and that's why I think it is better. Again, she is a love interest, something famously hard to do in a superhero movie. Look at all the love interests in superhero movies, and they are either bland or use Kidder as a blueprint. She finds a way to stand on her own, but not take the spotlight from Superman because she can challenge him, love him, and be in awe of him in the way that helps us fall in love with the Superman character. Yes, they're flirting first scene on the rooftop and flying cements Reeves as the character, as whatever Spence said about that. And that's why it's something that's way harder to pull off than what Heath Ledger does as the Joker.
Okay. Bring in the judges. I'm still not looking good.
No.
You always look good,
Okay.
Tim.
Thanks. I will leave and come back. I'll be back. Right. Well, we'll deal with my camera as it is. Maybe we'll figure it out. Maybe it'll get better. I closed some tabs. Maybe my internet just needs to breathe, but we'll figure it out. But anyway, I'm ready to go. I'm assuming you guys are ready to go since you had some time. But okay. So this was weird. I thought the openings were great. I thought that Jacoby did a good job kind of at first describing how it, like in his opening, he talked about how villain performances, it can be easy to just kind of do a one note like villain performance, but that Margot Kidder's performance is a lot more layered and interesting than that. But I thought Spence did a really good job of kind of bringing up all of the really great points about Heath Ledger's performance and why it is so great. I ultimately went with Spence, and the thing that kind of got me on that was more that, like, I'm not sure what Jacoby was really going for towards the back half of the fight. Like, I think I get what he was going for. It just didn't like really work for me, where he was talking about how because, like, he even said in his closing, like, Heath Ledger is so good that it brings everyone else in the movie down. And I'm like, why is that a net negative for Heath Ledger? So, like, I just like totally didn't buy into like the swoopy swoop he was giving me. I loved everything he said about Margot Kidder. Like, I thought it was very good. I just think Spence did a good job of bringing up Heath Ledger and not really doing much and Jacoby not really doing much for me on attacking Heath Ledger. Kind of made me go Spence. So Kirk, your thoughts?
Rough question. Unfair question, I think, to whoever has to go pick second, because I think there is an answer here. And I think Jacoby did a really good job. I think I like that he went Kidder, which is, sometimes it really helps to pick like the less obvious pick when there's a very obvious pick to kind of cover bad set. But ultimately, I also did go with Spence, just because I do think Jacoby did a great job putting together an argument to try to take down Ledger here, which is kind of impossible. But I do, the question is best performance, and Jacoby hit hardest so hard, made it more, but the degree of difficulty that, and conceding how good Ledger's performance was, where, Spence really didn't have any, it didn't feel like he was ever, challenged that much in best performance. If I was judging this by degree of difficulty, I'd give the point to Jacoby. But if I just take it by the question, I gotta go with Spence.
Okay, Brian, your vote does not count. Where would you have gone and why?
Yeah, on paper, I think it was clear that Jacoby had a real uphill battle because, Ledger's is such a legendary performance. He had a valiant effort. He tried to, find some angles to attack it and some ways to promote Margot Kidder. I don't think he quite got there, especially when he was trying to attack Heath Ledger's. I think you already mentioned, like, talking about how, his was so good, the other people, they can't live up to it. But I think that's relevant. I think it's doesn't change the fact that his is a great performance. I mean, you can talk about how it might affect the overall movie if everybody else can't live up to him, but doesn't change that his performance was great. However, I did not go with Spence like you do. I went with Adelaide.
Oh, that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
All
What
right.
was I gonna do? Say Heath Ledger sucked? Can't do that.
You can lie.
Why would I lie?
All right. So Spence wins the first point. We're going to move on to the next question, which was in the category of Oscars. The question is, what Best Picture winner is the most rewatchable? We're going to start this question with Spence opening, or Adelaide, I guess, maybe. You get 1 minute to open.
When I want to rewatch something, I think it's very nice to have something that's going to like wash over me very easy. It's like, would I rather go like run through some mud or have like a nice relaxing beach day, And to me, Coda is a very relaxing beach day. I think it's very comforting in the way that it approaches family values, in the way that you see Ruby's connection to her whole family. It's also like, I think there's something really magical about a movie that can make me cry on repeated viewings. And I can vouch for that now. I rewatched it literally last night and I cried at the exact same moment because it is the same thing of like why, like me personally, I'll come back to like rom-coms or like easygoing comedies because I want something that'll have me happy, but also constantly engaged. And I think that Coda is that, where it is something that every single moment of the film, even when there are trials and tribulations and difficulties within the film, I still feel like I'm with family. And why would I not want to be revisiting and spending time with people and characters that I love over and over and over?
Okay. We're going to go over to Mr. Bancroft. Jacoby, you have 1 minute when you start talking.
There's nothing more fun than watching a Martin Scorsese gangster film. That's why The Departed, I think, is the most rewatchable Best Picture winner. It is so energetic and captivating, where the cat and mouse dance between the two moles and the head gangster pulling all the strings keeps you engaged and smiling and kind of cheering almost the whole time. It's the movie where almost every scene is fighting for the title of like most rewatchable. Jack Nicholson's introduction scene, Leo's audition with Frank, Alec Baldwin's freak out, Martin Sheen's death, the final shootout, the conclusion, all bangers of scenes. And really there's so many more. Scorsese is the greatest because he knows how to keep things fun, but also tense. And that is one of the movie's greatest weapons. On top of that, you have Jack Nicholson, who is always watchable and rewatchable, doing one of his, I think, great late performances, along with some of the best actors working like Leo and Matt Damon, all bouncing off of each other, along with Scorsese's, I think, like just best behind the scenes weapon, which is Thelma Schoonmaker, the editor, who gives it this amazing energy, and you just get something magical. It is so fun to rewatch this movie, and because of how exciting it is, and that's why it's the most rewatchable.
Okay. We have Coda versus The Departed. 5 minute freeform when one of you starts talking.
Can we talk about how like two of your lead characters are like really fucking badly written and really poorly performed?
Is that the opening? Okay,
yeah,
I disagree.
Let's talk about it.
Okay, I disagree. I think Leo, which two characters are you referring to? Because that's almost impossible, because Leo and Matt Damon are actually phenomenal in the movie, playing the moles to each other, and they give it such a tenseness and excitement to it that make it really cool to see them almost interacting with each other, almost going everything, and it keeps it going, floating from scene to scene. So I think that's actually very exciting, and their performances make it rewatchable, along with Coda, who I can't really remember the performances itself in, besides the emotional sort of moments, because I think all your movie has is emotion and not really anything to keep it going from like one scene to another here.
I'll come back to that point in a bit because I just want to point out Troy Kotsur did win an Oscar, so scoreboard. I'm saying specifically, I think that Vera Farmiga and Mark Wahlberg are like actively bad in this movie. I think Wahlberg is like, he's coasting. I don't think he's a great actor, and all he basically just shows up and does a Boston accent, and that's it. He is so fucking bland and uninteresting as a character that then he is suddenly like this big bad that fucking kills Leo at the end. There is like that is such a downer of like, it is like if in The Godfather Part 3, fucking what's her name? Not Gia Coppola. Sophia Coppola is like, I'm running this now. You're putting all of your stakes in the worst fucking character in the movie. That's why I don't want to rewatch it, because it fucking takes me out at the end.
Because of the ending of itself, but that's the magic of Scorsese himself. He brings out all these characters that are so engaging and fun and watchable. If you're hanging your hat on the side love interest's performance, and Mark Wahlberg, who got nominated for an Academy Award as well for this performance itself, which doesn't matter there, but it shows that there is something to these movies and to this character. His grit and his kind of sleaziness adds to everything that goes about. So when he's the one who pulled the trigger at the end, that's such a better ending thing that makes it easy to revisit, as opposed to Coda. Look, I love an emotional tearjerker that can wreck you emotionally, in a good way, and and I like Coda because of that. But I know others who think it's maybe too schmaltzy and not worthy of Best Picture. But I do actually love it. But have I a need or desire to rewatch it since it came out? No. Because I think these emotional stories get a little sanded down the more and more you watch it. When all you have is emotion and the tear-jerking crying moments to have it, that doesn't make it, let's rewatch this again, as opposed to Departed, which is a Scorsese gangster film that zips through its plot and its stories with all these characters bouncing off it and keeps things action-packed and exciting throughout, as opposed to just this is a nice story. I
also say I think there's other options if you want to look at fun Scorsese gangster films. I think this is the bottom of the fucking pile. You can go to Goodfellas, you can go to The Irishman. I think if you're using that as your qualifier, you're losing your argument every time.
One Best Picture.
I think if we're going to Coda, I think that yes, again, Troy Kotsur did win an Oscar. He's fucking phenomenal. I think Amelia Jones is this really great, grounded performance. And you are with her through the daily struggles of, do I go to college? Do I stay with a family business? Marlee Matlin walks this incredible line between being a very loving mother and also being kind of abusive and emotionally manipulative. And I think it's a very honest film. And I think that's all the performances lend that. I think that if you're going for there's this big, broad, whoa, gangster, fucking murder, we're all along for the ride, and then it ends, and you fucking cannot stand. Again, I think ending the movie with Wahlberg as your killer is
killing the bad guy.
Downer. It's a downer. No, it fucking does not matter. Putting it in his hands takes me out. And then
that's such a weird thing
you're dedicating basically 2.5 hours and then ending it with fucking Wahlberg. That's disappointing. And
your whole argument is about performance
with a shitty fucking romance.
You keep harping on the performances of the movie itself, but performances doesn't really affect rewatchability in terms of everything. You keep saying your performances won an Oscar for because Mark Wahlberg does that. But the center of the movie itself is Jack Nicholson, Leonardo DiCaprio, and Matt Damon, and Scorsese behind the camera, and Schumacher editing it to make it propulsive from start to finish, where you have countless scenes of going back and forth, of seeing these great actors and great performances go through everything, as opposed to Coda, which does not have that. It has the feel-good ending, which is great. It's fine. But leading up to that point, it's not special. There's nothing to really excite me to keep it to rewatch it. Nothing to motivate me to yes, I want to rewatch that again and again and again because I love crying. No, I like to be excited when I watch movies. I like to be pumped up. I like to be, everything that Departed can do that Coda does not do in this situation. I'll keep going if you are you good?
I always thought that wasn't a minute. We can just hang out and talk about the next question if you want. What do you
what are you talking about? Your whole argument is just the performance itself. Coda is not a rewatchable movie. I'll keep going, man.
Okay. And guess what? Jacoby gets to keep going. He's got a minute because he gets to close first. So Jacoby, 1 minute when you start talking.
Some movies are fantastic, but they aren't rewatchable. Sometimes movies like Coda deliver such a heartwarming, inspirational, emotional punch in the heart that you don't feel the need to see it again immediately. Doesn't mean it's bad in any way, but it is not rewatchable. I think Coda is divisive because of how schmaltzy it is. It's feel good, and it's a good movie to, but I actually do like it. It's a good movie to sit with, but not really revisit, where The Departed is so energetic and fun throughout because of Scorsese behind the camera and the story that he crafts along with performances. Spence I can't even argue what Spence was arguing against my movie, that Mark Wahlberg sucks at the end of the movie for killing the bad guy. I don't know how to argue against that because that's not really a point to any of the rewatchability of the movie itself. The rewatchability is the feeling that you get from start to finish of how the scenes flow together one after the other. Coda does not have a single ounce of that. It has an emotional gut punch at the end of it that does make you cry, but it's nothing I can't really revisit in terms of rewatchability, as opposed to Departed, which has rewatchability throughout the whole thing.
Okay. We're going to go over to Adelaide. Adelaide, you have 1 minute when you start talking.
If we're breaking down the question, what best picture winner you want to rewatch? If you start with The Departed, there are better directions. If you want like a good, fun crime film, cool. On the Waterfront, Silence of the Lambs, The Godfather, all better options. Let's rework it. If you want to do fucking Scorsese, you can do Goodfellas, Irishman, Wolf of Wall Street. There are better options. If we're looking within the confines of the question, and we're not making a movie with shitty performances and a shitty ending, and it's also way too fucking long, 2.5 hours. I don't want to commit to that all the time. We go with Coda, a movie that genuinely makes you feel fantastic. You want to be with the characters non-stop. You want to be there. It is under 2 hours with more than just the incredible ending. You are empathizing with the characters the whole time. You feel good being there. I do not want to spend 2.5 hours where I have to deal with a shitty romance where he's fucking his therapist. That's weird as shit. It ends with that. I hate Mark Wahlberg. Ending with that, I think, is stupid. And then I think the plot is stupid. See, Jacoby, you can talk out your ass like this. Fuck The Departed. Coda's better.
I feel like some people fuck them. It's like I don't think that's too far off the realm of possibility.
If you look like Leonardo DiCaprio, I would assume, right?
You shouldn't fuck your therapist. I think it's a fair line to draw.
If you look like Leonardo DiCaprio,
then get a new therapist. Then you can fuck her. He just does it at the same time.
Oh man. All right, Brian looks ready. Kirk, you still thinking? You are muted, my friend, but I have faith in you.
Give me a couple more seconds here.
Yeah, you're good. How's my camera?
It's better now.
Okay, I think I know what the problem was, but it is fixed.
Ellie's chewed on the cord.
Yeah, exactly. I forgot one of the tabs I had open. I was uploading a video I edited earlier, so I think that was just dragging my internet down, which it doesn't usually, but it was tonight. So I went on there and it said 98%, and then as soon as it was done, I saw on my screen even more. I was like, oh, okay. So that was
go.
All right, Brian, you kick us off.
Jacoby tried to lose me right away. He was saying there's nothing better than sitting down and watching Martin Scorsese gangster films. There's a lot of things better than that. He makes some good movies, but they aren't my favorites. This was pretty easy for me. I did vote for Jacoby. Adelaide's whole argument against Departed seemed to hinge on attacking the performances of two minor supporting characters to the point where once that argument was done, they had nothing else to talk about, left us with dead air. So I didn't buy that. And I know they attacked the runtime, which I don't think runtime is really a factor for me. Whereas Jacoby did a real good job, I think, of knowing why his is rewatchable. He's got so many great scenes, so many great performances. And Coda is just not as memorable. It doesn't make you want to go back to it. So, Jacoby.
Okay. Some minor things that I disagree with on Brian, but on the whole, I agree with him. I went with Jacoby. I think runtime does play into the rewatchable question if there's something to back it up. But Spence just screamed into the camera, "It's long!" And that doesn't because some of the most rewatchable movies for me are long movies, but they're never boring. If Spence was able to kind of pick apart parts of The Departed, which there are none, that are boring, then maybe I could buy into that argument, but I didn't. I think Jacoby did a great job. Well, both, frankly, did a good job on their specific movies, but I just think Jacoby's takedowns of Coda were very strong, and I agree. Spence kind of fell into the I just hate Mark Wahlberg, and it was okay, but yeah, that doesn't affect the rewatchability of the movie, maybe for everyone, or even the fact that it's just him at the end. That seems silly. So, I just, on the whole, I think both movies are great. I like The Departed obviously a lot more, but I do think Coda's a great movie. And I do actually believe Spence that it is a rewatchable one. I enjoy watching it, but didn't do much for me on that one. So Kirk, your vote doesn't count. Where would you have gone and why?
Yeah, it was interesting because obviously two very different movies, and I like to begin. Spence defined rewatchability as being happy but engaged, and Jacoby defined it as fun but tense. And I kind of just liked how they both kind of formed those arguments. Spence is absolutely correct. Wahlberg sucks in this. Vera sucks in this. They both sucked the movie down a lot for me. But ultimately, I also did go with Jacoby because I feel like we did get derailed on a lot of those little things about supporting performances and this and that. And I think Jacoby is able to keep things on the rails and focus on, like Brian said, the scenes and the performances and the things within that and the way the movie makes you feel a little bit tight, kept it a little bit tighter than Adelaide did.
Okay.
That's how you lie in a debate. I did not mean anything I said.
All right. It is 1-1. We are moving on to the third question, which was in the category of horror. Nick Tuig's favorite. Your question in that category is, which horror film from the 2010s should be seen by more people? I like this one. Jacoby, we're going to start with you. You got 1 minute when you start talking.
The Invitation from 2015 is absolutely a horror film people should see more. It flew under the radar at its time. It's directed by Karen Kusama, and it's about essentially a dinner party that devolves into absolute chaos as it becomes clear the hosts are part of a creepy cult with nefarious purposes. It's a movie I think more people should see because it's so impressive in what it does. I think slow burn is the most difficult genre to pull off, especially in horror, because you have to keep ratcheting up the tension without losing interest. So I think more people should see a horror movie that does this successfully. And I think more people should see it because it can show how solid actors and a solid script in a house together can be one of the most effective horror movies of that year. It's also John Carroll Lynch's best performance, who's a great actor, and that alone almost makes it worth seeing on its own. I think it's an essential 2010s horror film that definitely flew under the radar, but any horror fan would find something really enjoyable and engaging and important out of it, and that's why I think more people should see this film.
Clarifying question. This is not the vampire movie, correct?
It is not the vampire movie.
Okay, I'm just making sure. Okay, because is that also called The Invitation?
It's called The Invitation.
Okay, I was very confused at when you started talking. Okay, okay, so we're gonna take out Jacoby. We're gonna add Spence.
If he didn't clarify it in the chat, I would have asked because it is the exact. It's 7 years. That's the only difference.
He wasn't. There you go. All right, Spence.
For the third year in a row, a frat house is being targeted by a serial killer who goes by the name Motherface. In this magnificent allusion to 80s slasher films, Dude Bro Party Massacre 3 is one of the most fun times you will ever have with a horror film. How would I know that? Well, I know what you're asking. Why should more people see it? I will tell you. I literally pulled 3 fucking people from this community and showed it to them, and they all loved it. Dean Manis, Melissa Woody, and Will Cohen. I said, hey, come watch this movie. I think you'll love it. And I was right. There were incredible kills. Iconic. A dude's head literally gets fucking tapped with a beer keg and pumps out the blood in his skull. That is the movie we are dealing with. The whole premise, like the whole structure of the movie is, the movie would have been lost to time, but some kid recorded it on a VHS tape, and there's commercials, there's pizza rats. This is just a fun movie that legitimately, factually proven, anyone can enjoy.
All right. This is going to be interesting. 5-minute free form when one of you starts talking.
Look, Dude Bro Party Massacre 3 is a really funny series of 5-second YouTube sketches. It is a very funny comedy movie. And if it's a comedy movie, if that was the question, definitely more people should see it. But is it a horror film people should see? Absolutely not, because it's not for everybody. It's stupid. Stupid funny, but stupid. And showing it to people might get the reaction of us nerds here in the community. But if you show a regular horror fan this sort of thing, and the reaction will be like, what the heck are you showing me with this out of control, funny comedy movie? Whereas my horror film is one that will sit with any horror fan and should be seen by everybody who likes horror. Your movie is like Too Many Cooks and like Kung Fury, which worked as like 15-minute videos, not like an hour and 40-minute comedy movie. I think mine is just the better horror movie that people should see.
I think it's really crazy. So I'm looking at average ratings from within the community. The invitation is actually pretty mixed because there are people like you who think like, oh, it's brilliant, it's tense, I'm always there. And people like me who think it's really fucking average and has nothing to offer or say to the genre. You're like, oh, John Carroll Lynch is so great. Look at the fucking cast list. Who's the killer? It's crazy. It's fucking predictable.
That's to seem like you didn't watch the movie if you're trying to guess who the killer is, because it's pretty clear from the start that this thing is off and these people are here to do something really bad to these people. And that's the great part about the movie. That's where I said the slow burn makes it really exciting, because these, like John Carroll Lynch and the people there, are going to do something bad. And sitting with them and seeing the characters and the main character, Logan Marshall Green, sort of figure this out while dealing with his own trauma makes this a really effective, intense horror movie, as opposed to your YouTube movie.
Where you're pitching it as a horror movie, it works better as a drama. Like if you're sitting there like, oh, the moral quandaries within this main character, cool, whatever. Everything around him, that's not horror. You're sitting there bored out of your fucking mind about like, hey, want to join our cult? And then I will say the movie also, if we're talking about like the appeal to like random ass 15-year-olds on the internet, this movie has a weird problem with sex. It kind of just treats
which
it
movie?
as
Your movie or my movie? That appeals. That you're saying my movie appeals to 15-year-old dudes and not
you
your
said it about
dude
my
party
movie. I'm saying about your movie. It goes both
okay. Just to be
ways.
clear, I had to be clear.
There are multiple points in the film where you are bored out of your mind. They're like, hey, what if hot women want to fuck the main character? That is separate. 10-minute stints in the movie. What's the name of the fucking game they play? The I Want scene. And then by the pool, she's like, I can make you come with my words. Oh no. What if you hit me? Will you like that? There is no point. Legitimately no point
to the movie for
random ass shit for no reason, because they know the movie is boring and is trying to keep you hooked.
I am so amazed that you said random ass shit throwing into my movie when your movie is Dude Party Massacre 3, which is a literal movie that was written by different people who were not engaging with each other purposely, so the scenes can be totally random and different from one another. Yeah, I did the research.
That is the tone of my movie. It is what
I'm saying. That's the tone.
You and it was funny. Yours.
It is. It's a funny movie. I'm not denying that. I'm saying mine's a better horror film that more horror fans should see. I think your 15-year-old dudes who should see your movie more, but horror fans overall should see my slow burn thriller more.
People, period.
Which horror film about from the 2010s should be seen by more people? Your movie is a comedy that has some fun send-ups, everything. My movie is actually effective with the horror tropes that it operates in, and does so in a really cool and interesting way and an engaging way. You're not against the cult acting creepy. Yeah, they're a fucking cult. They are going to be creepy. They are going to be weird and disarming, and that's the point of it as things escalate to the very end of it. And that's what makes it so effective from start to finish. Your movie is great in small doses. I could pull up YouTube clips of scenes from your movies and get the same effect, because that's all your movies are, just like individual little funny little sketches back and forth. And I don't think it's a horror film that should be seen by more people, as opposed to The Invitation, which definitely should.
So you're ignoring the fact that like the movie isn't just 15-minute clips. It is constant running gags. There is a whole fucking subplot about evil bags of oranges. The actual name of Motherface and the lore behind that is what makes it interesting. The main character's relationship with his dead twin brother, Brent Torino. There's like the way that he like calls upon the spirits of his past and his dead fraternity brothers. The plot is important. You are undercutting all of that. It is a comedy that actively keeps you engaged. The Invitation, when you boil it down, this was accepted in the question, so you cannot refuse it.
I'm not just more of a comedy than a horror film.
It is not. It is barely a fucking horror film. It is a bland, pallid movie about discount Tom Hardy going to a dinner party where by the fact that it is within the genre and the fact that John Carroll Lynch randomly fucking shows up, you are just waiting for it to actually become a horror movie, and until then it is uninteresting. There is no tension there. Ready or Not is doing what your movie is asking, but 1,000 times better. You are.
And a lot of people saw Ready or Not
interesting, and it never fucking does.
More people should see The Invitation, and they can see that.
Time. Okay. We are going to start closings with Adelaide. Adelaide, you get 1 minute when you start talking.
If the 338,000 people who have logged the invitation on Letterboxd is not enough for you, then my 10,000 for Dude Bro Party Massacre 3 should be. That is an insane amount of people who have not seen one of the funniest horror movies in the past decade. And I will once again, to prove Jacoby wrong about why it is a great horror movie, once again, with the amazing kills. There is a character who is literally split in half. And then, again, in lieu to 80s slasher films, Motherface hangs him up on the zip line, and then fucking shoots him over a lake where his blood pours on his fraternity brothers, and she throws him the quip of "It's raining men." That is the whole movie. The whole 110-minute movie. It is just those fun 80s horror tropes. Whether you are a casual horror fan or a diehard of the genre, this appeals to you with its balance of horror and comedy, weird ass fucking gore. And once again, it has pizza goblins. Jacoby's movie has fucking nothing on that. It's just a boring piece of shit.
Time. Okay, we're going to go over to Jacoby. Jacoby, you have 1 minute to close when you start talking.
My movie is this brilliant sort of social experiment and shows what putting interesting characters in a room can accomplish in a horror movie. This is a slow burn movie, and that's not a bad thing. Spence is calling it very boring itself, but nothing that happens. But you actually see these characters sit and stew and wait for something really terrifying to happen. John Carroll Lynch is terrifying as he sits in the background as you wait for him to pounce. It's incredibly effective slow burn movie that doles out just enough information to keep things interesting until things get crazy. More horror fans should see this movie because it feels like a building block. It's a bunch of great things that horror fans would respond to done well. Dude Bro Massacre Party 3 is a really funny movie, but horror fans don't need to see it. Comedy fans maybe, but not horror fans. I'm not denying it is a horror movie. That's not the crux of my argument. It is definitely a horror movie. I'm just saying it is a more comedic movie more so than that, and more comedy fans should see that. But if you are into horror films and horror films as the genre overall, more people should see The Invitation. I think Dude Bro is a movie that I think a lot of horror fans will reject, whereas my film is more for all horror fans, and then they can find good things in. It is an incredible...
Time. Okay. We are going to go bring in the judges. This was the right order, right? Brian, you were third? Yeah. Okay.
Yes. And it's Kirk first this time.
Yes.
Sometimes I wish there was what's it called? Like a lifeline where you're like, hey, can I get an extension for another minute or something? I have so many fucking notes on this movie.
If I have done that in the past, or if I feel like the question, or instead if it's really spicy, I add on a minute. Or
Lesser debate leagues, I think had those. It's that's my only perspective.
Yeah. No, I make that a host's judgment call, and I only do it in the main round, so it's fair to both players that they get this amount of time. So, Kirk, you're kicking us off.
To be completely honest, I didn't love this argument because I think when you do what should be seen more, which we've done a lot, it a lot of times boils down to just what is the better movie, and I was looking specifically for why more people should see it. And I think this boiled down to the quality of the movie. We got derailed by genre and classifications and things like that. I think there was just things. I mean, Spence focused on people in the community show, which really didn't do much for me, and Jacoby kept hitting horror fans instead of movie, just general audience, which again wasn't the question. So I think there were a lot of missteps on both sides here. I barely give the edge to Jacoby, just because I think I got a little more from him about how, and I'll say this, I've seen both these movies. If somebody brought both of them to me and said, hey, what should I watch? I'd say Dude Bro. But I think in the argument, Jacoby gave me more, where Spence brought a lot of excitement and energy and talking about cool things happen in this movie. Jacoby gave me more about why this kind of fills a lot of holes, and it's a good building block for the genre and shows you what you can do with these in this kind of situation with these kind of characters. So again, it wasn't overwhelming, but it gave me enough to give Jacoby the edge.
Okay, Brian, your thoughts?
Well, I almost felt like I need to recuse myself from this question because my letterbox review ends with, this is a cult classic in the making that deserves to be seen by a lot more people. But But I pride myself on being able to put my own opinions aside and listen to the debate and judge the debate. I think that Spence's opening did work for me when they talked about how they found some people who this movie was not on their radar and showed it to them and they really loved it. I think that kind of did something for me. Although their attacks on the invitation were not as good. I think that Spence in all these questions so far and probably the upcoming ones attacks extremes. It's like it's not, instead of individual things like this movie sucks and this is boring as shit, and it's just like, okay, let's back off on this stuff a little bit. Ultimately, I think that Jacoby, especially in his closing, I think was really focusing on his movie. Horror fans are going to appreciate more horror fans are going to like it, and even said like, well, comedy fans maybe would like Dude Bro, but maybe not horror fans. But the problem for me is I'm looking at the question, and the question isn't asking more horror fans should see. It's saying what horror movie classified as horror should be seen by more people, not necessarily more horror fans. So for me, I went Spence.
All right. Well, listening to you guys talk, I'm somewhere in the middle of both of you. There were things that I agree and disagree with both of you on. Spence bringing up the people in the community didn't really do much for me. Like, I don't give a fuck if Will Cohen liked the movie. I'm sorry. Frankly, I'm sorry. Sorry, but I do. Dean's got good taste. And Spence brought up like, oh, well, on Letterboxd, my movie has this many logs and yours has this many, and I'm like, I don't care. Like, why are we wasting time on that? Like, if this was just a numbers game, like, great. On the other side, though, on Jacoby's side, I agree with the sentiment that the horror comedy thing, it wasn't really the question. I get why Jacoby went that way, because the category's horror, and like we're talking about like what should more people see. So I kind of agree with the sentiment that didn't totally work for me. Ultimately, I did go with Jacoby because I think overall Jacoby, by not much, like Kirk said, but enough, gave me why his movie was the more interesting one that more people overall would get more out of. And I feel like, even though it sounds like I would really enjoy Spence's movie based on their description of it, I thought that Jacoby did a good job too of kind of taking down a few of Spence's arguments, like like your movie talks about sex and that's like just for 15-year-olds, and Jacoby was like, hello, your movie is like literally appealing to like 15-year-old boys. So I thought Jacoby did a good job there. But I agree with Kirk overall that it wasn't the best of the fights we've seen from these two, but on the whole, I gave it to Jacoby. So Jacoby's up 2-1. Yes, Adelaide.
I do need to point out, Jacoby didn't even mention that there's a death in this movie right here, where a kid dies because he touches a girl's boob where she was electrocuted, so then he dies by electrocution.
That sounds
exciting. It's like one of the first kills in the movie. So he's right. It is meant for 15-year-olds, and it's a masterpiece.
That's okay. All right, we're going to move on to the final question. So Spence needs to hit this in order to send it to the bonus. Spence did draft this category. It's the category of Galaxy Quests. And the question is, what is... Oh, I'm gonna take you guys out of here. Go away. No, I'm just kidding. Stay, please. What is the best quote from a Star Wars film? I like Star Wars. Spence, you get to go first. 1 minute when you start.
I think we're looking at best quote. It is beyond just what works from within the film. What do we want to apply to our everyday lives? What helps us get through the day-to-day? And I think nothing embodies that more than do or do not. There is no try. You either do something or you don't. You take the idea of anticipation away from it and you fully commit to the idea. And I think that's something that works just for me in every day. I'm not going to sit here and be like, yeah, I should try and do this. Like, no, If I want to do something, I should fucking commit to it. I shouldn't try in Fanzone. I should do Fanzone. I should actually fucking commit and take 1,000 fucking notes in these random ass kills and do a Party Massacre 3 because I care. I want to commit. I will not just try. I think it works from within the universe as well. This is Luke's whole philosophy through the rest of the franchise. He is not going to try and save everyone from Darth Vader. He will do it. He has to. He cannot fail. He must do it.
Okay. We'll go over to Jacoby. Jacoby, you have 1 minute when you start talking. Oh, wait. Hang on. That's me. That's not Jacoby. What the fuck? There we go. Jacoby, 1 minute.
Best quote from Star Wars is, "Rebellions are built on hope." I think it's not only the single greatest encapsulation of Star Wars as a whole, but also inspiring to any viewer or audience member who wants to believe in something. I'll focus mainly on greatest encapsulation of Star Wars as a whole. This whole series is about rebellion. The magic about Star Wars is that it starts with the Empire in control of everything, right? And how a ragtag team of rebels attempts to take them down no matter the cost. And the Empire seems to always win. They capture Princess Leia, build the Death Star, destroy Alderaan. The Empire strikes back, scatter our heroes, build another Death Star, and then 30 years later, the Empire is reborn as the First Order, and the rebellion has to rise up again, and against all the odds, hope perseveres. No matter how hard things seem to be getting, all these characters at their core hope for things to get better and work to defeat the Empire and the Emperor, no matter how many times they have to do it. So that's why rebellions are built on hope is the best quote, I think, from a Star Wars movie. And just pretty great quote overall.
Time. All right, great openings. Competitors, you have 1 minute, or I'm sorry, 5 minute freeform when one of you starts talking.
I don't know if you've ever been inside like a classroom or like a public setting and you've seen a big red banner just like really screaming at you like, this is your message. Rebellions are built on hope. Who the fuck says that? No one talks about it because no one gives a shit about a random ass quote in Rogue One. Okay. Do or do not, there is no try. It is like emblematic to culture as a whole. It is universal. Yours is just kind of like a throwaway.
I disagree because I actually kind of hate your quote. Overall, I really do. I've never thought it made much sense. I think it's rich in the movies itself, coming from a green hermit who like ran away when everything's got hard, and he's preaching about do or do not. There is no try. Like what is Yoda smoking there? Of course, there's trying. You have to try in everything you do, and if you fail or do not, then you have to try again. And you know what happens? Why you have to keep trying again, and what the core of that is? It's hope. Hope is actually the core of everything that, like, your arguments about, like, this is really what's inspiration and in order to keep going and either do or do not, at the core of it is the idea of hope. And I think that's why my quote is not only better for, I guess, everyday life too, which it seems like your argument is going like everything outside of Star Wars, your quote is great. My quote is also great outside of Star Wars, but also great within Star Wars itself because it's what the whole franchise is sort of built upon.
So basically what you're saying is that your quote is better if you disregard my quote, because you're saying I want to try, I don't want to do or do not, and to try you have to have hope. That is just that's undercutting what I'm doing. What I am saying is that when you try, that is the idea that there is a middle solution of, oh, I can go 80% and I did my best. No, 100%. You have to commit. If Luke just tried to defeat the Empire, he would have fucking lost. No, he knew that it was either win or lose. If he failed, the world was fucking over and it would be done. He had to. I think that is why it works within the universe. There is no hope. There is just succeeding or losing.
There's absolutely hope. The movie is called A New Hope. That is like the basis of the first movie itself and sets the foundation for everything that goes wrong. The fact that you need hope in order to do things, in order to keep trying and trying and trying again. And what I was saying before is that I actually feel like our two quotes are actually in opposition of each other, because having hope means being able to try again and again and again, which is what the rebels have to do because the Empire keeps winning and because the Empire keeps seeming to be so powerful. And that's what makes the rebellion so powerful. It's not the do or do not. It is, and because there is no try, because there actually is trying consistently throughout that. And behind all the trying, there's the hope that they can actually get better. And that is why, and the fact that the rebellions are built on hope itself is such a simple, straightforward line that actually applies to like almost like all of the movies itself, is why it's such a great quote overall for this franchise. As opposed to yours, which I never thought makes a lot of sense anyway, because of course there's trying.
when we are looking at like within the films, how the characters speak to each other, it's not, oh, I hope we can destroy the Death Star. No, it's we must. There is a definitive certainty that this has to happen. We will not try to do it and then like do a little day and then we're good for the day. No, you need to do it. That is what Yoda was saying. You cannot half-ass. You cannot just kind of commit. You need to full send, finish the job.
That's
Hope
what I'm
is
saying
not
too.
finishing the job.
And I agree with that because then you do the task, right? Then you defeat the Death Star the first time, and that's what happens. And you did it. That's great. But then what happens? The Empire rises up again. And what
and then you
motivates
do it again. There is no hope.
You have to try
do
again.
it.
Yeah. Because then you have to try again because the hope that is there is what keeps you to the next battle, one after the other. It's one battle after another with the Empire here. Hopefully there. And that's but the core of everything is hope itself. The Yoda quote doesn't really fit in the framework of like it's never made a lot of sense in terms of, because of course that there is trying. We are seeing these characters try and try and try and try again because the Empire keeps coming back. If the Death Star was destroyed and the Empire was wiped out immediately, then your quote would make sense. The fact that the Empire keep having to rise up again, keep going against all odds, becoming more powerful, the core of everything is the hope that these characters have in order to keep trying again, in order to defeat them once and for all, because the Empire continues to rise up.
So the Empire and the New Order can also do. They don't try. They always fucking come back. There is no half-ass. There is success and there is failure. You're saying, oh, they succeeded in coming back. Great. Yeah. That is my fucking quote. You are arguing it for me. They're not trying to take over the world. They fucking did it. They took over the universe because they did it. There is no try.
Yeah, but we're not following the Empire. They came to like the Empire being the good guys.
They did not try. They succeeded.
The rebellion itself is the one that's hoping and the one that is trying here to keep going. The heroes that we
That's only half the film. What about the fascists? You're not taking the fascist side in this. You're ignoring them.
All right. We're going to start closings with Jacoby. Jacoby, you have 1 minute when you start talking.
Rebellions are built on hope is a better all-around quote and a better representation of what Star Wars is really about. The first movie is A New Hope, and that's not an accident. It tells us that hope is what is needed in order for the rebellion to rise up against evil. That hope is what's needed in order to keep trying when things get bad or go wrong. When you hear do or do not, that's way too simple. Do they defeat the Empire at first? They do not. Do they defeat them a second time? They do not. Will they defeat them a third time? Probably not. And every time they have to try again. And the one thing motivating them to keep going, to keep trying things when things are failing, is hope. Rebellions are built on hope is the best quote in Star Wars because it best represents the series of what these characters, our main characters, not the Empire, Spence, what our main characters are actually fighting for. And it actually makes sense in what we see with these characters. Unlike do or do not, there is no try, which doesn't even make any sense whatsoever, comes from a horrible place and doesn't make any sense.
Okay, we're going to go over to Spence. Spence, you have 1 minute when you start talking.
One of the philosophies that I grew up with very consistently was not practice makes perfect, but perfect practice makes perfect. You do not half-ass. You do not pretend that you'll do better later. You have to always be ready. 100% do not half-ass. That is what hope is. There is the hope to be better. There is the hope that things can change. They will not change without you. You have to do it or you don't do it. Do or do not, there is no try. You do not settle for a middle. Luke did not settle for a middle. The whole time through the franchise, even in The Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker, he commits. He knows that there is a single thing that he has to do, and he must follow through on his journey, on his beliefs. Even in the prequels, Obi-Wan says, I don't know about raising Anakin, but it was what Qui-Gon wanted. I have to do it. I have to commit, and I think it will be the best for everybody. Even when you're looking at the whole of the franchise, yes, the Empire did it. They didn't half-ass take it over the fucking universe, but they did it. There is no trying. Trying leads to failure. You have to do it or else.
Okay. We're going to bring in the judges. All right, you guys look ready? Okay. This was interesting. I thought no bullshit. Spence's opening was incredible. I thought they did a really, really good job in their opening. And I don't love Jacoby's quote. It's not my favorite quote. I also don't love that movie. That being said, the arguments, Jacoby completely won me over. I love the Yoda quote. I kind of push back on the green hermit who's smoking pot, but for the argument, Jacoby made it really pretty clear why took a concept that I think Spence. I like what Spence was giving on the idea of if you have to put yourself in the mindset of I got to go and do this. I'm not just going to half-ass it. Like I liked that, but I think Jacoby took examples from the movies on why his quote just works so much better across the movies and also just like in life, even though he mostly focused on the movies, he kind of took Spence's against and took Spence's quote and put it at the movie, like throughout the context of the movies, and was like, this doesn't even make sense in the context of the film. So I think Spence had the better quote, but Jacoby had the better argument, and Jacoby wins my point. Kirk, your thoughts?
Yeah. Spence had an interesting pick because I do think in the movie it's a good, in the context of the movie it's good, but I think it is one of, like Jacoby was saying, it's something where if you think about it in the context of real life, like, yeah, you have to try. But I do think that Adelaide did a good job of building an argument around that. And I agree with you that I don't think that the Rogue One quote is fantastic. But again, based on the arguments, I did go with Jacoby as well. This was just tough because it's one of those fights you want to jump in, and because, you know, Jacoby's like, well, they have to keep doing it over and over again. But everything they do, there's so many examples where, you know, there's only one shot at the trench run. You know, there's only one shot to bring down the shield at Endor, and if they don't do it, it's over. And there's so many moments where you have to hit that. And I think at the very end, Spence started to formulate during their closing, an argument of these are different things in the movie. These are different examples in the movies where they were doing or not doing, and they just had to do it. And I think if they had done that more throughout, and that's why I was looking throughout their argument, that, hey, you know, these are things in the movie, and it just, instead of just applying it to life in general, I think it would have been a lot closer. But as it was, I'd go with Jacoby.
Okay, Brian, your vote doesn't count. Where would you have gone and why?
I agree with you that in the openings, I think Spence, especially, their argument was really strong. Especially when they're talking about how, you know, the quote kind of transcends the movies and it kind of goes into life philosophy and things like that. So I think it really worked to boost their quote. I think that when they tried to kind of use that to attack the other quote, it didn't work as well. You know, talking about how you don't see, you know, the banners that say rebellion built on hope, which I have seen, by the way, at some, you know, anti-Trump rallies. But I think that it's just a matter of the argument. Like, one person was kind of going more just within the movies with a little bit of outside. The other person was focusing on, like, this is a life philosophy. So I think it's very different arguments. I agree, though. I think Jacoby did a better job picking apart the other one. Why doesn't make sense?
All right, that means your winner is Jacoby Bancroft. We are going to move into some post-match interviews. We are going to start with Adelaide. Adelaide, I mean, great match. I thought you played great. I thought you had some good, like I said, I genuinely thought your opening there was good. I think Brian echoed the sentiments, and it was a good one, but Jacoby is a rock star. It's hard to take him on, and you've had to do it more than anyone, maybe. So what are your thoughts coming out of this one?
I can tell you exactly why I lost this match.
Oh.
I tried. I didn't do it. Like, that's only like 10% a joke. Because I have my notes here, and like as like the work I was putting in for this, I pulled a check. I wrote a big ass fucking paragraph for the Joker, and I got it. I have like 50 notes between Dude Bro and the invitation because I was committed. Star Wars, Oscars, I made shit up. And that's not somebody who wants to win does. I need to actually put the effort in. I can blame real life shit all I want because shit sucks. But I think at the end of the day, I'm not committing enough, especially to beat a player like Jacoby. I can get lucky against Alex. Jacoby is going to not need luck. So if I fucking play him a fourth time, I can't just try. I got to do it.
Yeah.
Oh shit!
Fair.
It fell out.
Spence, this does end your season in Fanzone debate, but a successful season nonetheless. You did have to play Jacoby twice, but you got a knockout on your record. I had some really great arguments. When you come back next season, if you plan to return, who are you wanting to face?
I want to pummel the fuck out of Jack Pinchuk.
Everyone says that. My God.
I'll take Will Cohen as well. I want to beat up Jack. I've seen him in person, so I can say I can do it.
That's fair. Spence, congrats on the match. Well played. We will see you next time. We are going to bring in our winner, Jacoby Bancroft. Jacoby, I don't want to point fingers or anything, but the first question, you lifted your hands, you did one of the, and then you noticed, I watched it in your eyes, and you put your hands back down. But nonetheless, another strong win. You're playing well in this title picture. First against Robert, and now against Spence. What are your thoughts coming out of this one?
I disagree when you said a strong win, because I don't think I feel like a lot of those questions were kind of scraps, you know, like I felt like a lot of the arguments didn't win you guys over full-heartedly. I just did slightly better than Spence, and I think if I want to keep going forward, I got to focus on some better arguments there, because but that was playing Spence is great. Spence, as Spence has said, their greatest superpower is just bullshitting answers, right? Like as they said a few times during the questions, they're just like, I'm bullshitting this, which is great. That's something that I can't do as much. Like I have to be committed to like kind of what I believe a lot of the time. And Spence can do that so effortlessly in terms of just of coming up with arguments, and that makes them very dangerous. So I never take them for granted at all, because they're great. So, and I enjoyed playing them. And I'm happy for the win, you know, like always. So it was exciting. It was iffy there for a few seconds there, but I'm glad I got a win.
Jacoby, you're moving on in the title picture. You have won yourself a #1 contenders match. It's been a while since we've seen you this far in a picture, but you're in a contender match. We personally in life don't know who you're playing yet, but in the real world, the people watching this, they know because it happened already, but we haven't shot it yet. So I'm just going to say you are playing the winner of Javi Madden and Joe Farrelly.
Okay.
Javi debuted earlier this year. Joe has made it to a contender match this year. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, so I haven't played Javi, right? I didn't debate Javi.
I don't believe so. No.
Sorry, I apologize if we did. I just don't remember. But I don't think I've played Javi. I have played Joe before, so I guess Javi would be interesting, because then it'd be cool to run the gauntlet of like debate everybody at least once. You know, like that would be kind of cool to do. But no matter what, I remember Joe gave me a run for my money before. He was very solid with his arguments there. So either way, got my work cut out for me, or don't have my work cut out for me. I've never understood which way that phrase goes, or which one means it's going to be hard. Whatever the hard one is.
The hard one, I believe, is you have your work cut out for you.
What does that even mean? That doesn't even make any sense, though. Like, okay, that's a different argument. Okay, but thank you guys.
Jacoby, congrats on the win. We'll see you in that contender match again in the schedule-wise next week, but in the real world, I don't fucking know. We'll see you soon. Congrats on the win. And let's get some final thoughts. Excuse me. Starting with Mr. Brian Michaels. Final thoughts for you, sir.
Well, my main thought throughout this debate is I'd like to put together a montage of all the shots of Jacoby just looking bewildered, like, what? Because Spence would say some weird shit or attack some random tiny little detail, and Jacoby's like, what the fuck are you talking about? And I really enjoyed that. At the same time, though, they both did exactly what I wanted them to do. They kept it interesting. They kept it fun, even if it was a little weird at times. Enjoyed it. Look and see what happens next.
Yeah, Kirk, I won't ask you to wrap up this one, but I will ask you, We already know, again, in the watching of the viewing of this, but who would you rather see Jacoby play, Javi or Joe?
Has he ever played Joe before?
I think so. I think he said yes, he has.
Okay. Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't catch what he said there. I want to see Javi. I think Javi is kind of just an interesting new player, and I'd like to see how he stacks up against Jacoby, who's kind of like top 5 all time.
Yeah, absolutely. Jacoby says, thanks for listening, Kirk. Anyway, that's going to do it for us today at Fanzone Debate. Thank you so much for watching. Please come back next week for that aforementioned contender match, and then we're on to the final act. So it is we're wrapping things up here. It is exciting stuff. Thank you for watching, and thank you to all the players and the people, the Spences, Jacoby, Kirk, and Brian, and all the other people who helped make the thing run, Mark and Nick. We appreciate you. We'll see you next time with another great match. Until then, bye.
There we go. Thanks a lot. Come again.
Hey, I won't forget what you've done for me here today.
I would prefer that you do.